I'm a lawyer, and so naturally a lot of my opportunities and a lot of my ability to do community service is kind of filtered through the legal career. And so for many years I've been involved with the Houston Bar Association, which is a fabulous organization. We do a wide variety of community service projects, everything from providing clothes and collecting clothes for those who lack them, to educating and helping kids at virtually every stage of the public education system, to working with individuals who cannot afford an attorney, to provide them with an attorney to help them defend their legal rights. And so all of those areas and many, many more the bar is involved in, and it's been a real pleasure to be involved with the bar. I've served in a number of capacities at the Bar Association. Most recently, last year, I served as the president of the Houston Bar Association, and it was a real honor, obviously, to be the representative for over 11,000 lawyers here in Houston. And so that has been a big focus of mine in terms of my community outreach. But there are other things that I've also been involved in. I've served on the board of the Lone Star Legal Aid Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization funded in part by the federal government to provide pro bono services to our region. In addition, I've also, and I'm currently serving as a member of the MD Anderson Board of Visitors, which is an organization that is near and dear to my heart for a number of reasons. And so those are some of the things. I also volunteer in a lot of different ways in the community here and there, but those are some of the most important and significant investments of time that I've made in the community. We had a focus last year on raising awareness about human trafficking, and that is an initiative that stemmed directly from my participation in the Leadership Forum. It's kind of an embarrassing story, but I'll tell it. Whenever I became Houston Bar Association president, I had one of my law partners send me a note and asked me to please focus on human trafficking during my presidency, to make it one of my focuses. And I dismissed it. I dismissed it because I didn't think it was a very big issue. I thought there were more important things that I wanted the bar to focus on that year, and so it kind of went into a stack of ideas that I was going to discard. And then fortunately, just weeks before I became president, I went through the Leadership Forum. And one of the segments, one of the learning journeys during the Leadership Forum was about human trafficking. It was an eye-opener, to say the least. I listened to what was happening in our community, learned about how perniciously it affected not only various aspects of our community, but also individuals. And it really made an impact. I sent an email from the Leadership Forum to my executive director saying that we have to make it a focus, and so we did. So this past year at the Houston Bar Association, we engaged in a wide variety of projects to really try and raise awareness about human trafficking here in Houston and abroad. We devoted an entire issue of our magazine, The Houston Lawyer, to the issue of human trafficking. We sponsored several seminars to educate individuals about the issue of human trafficking in our community. One of those was really poignant. We had a human trafficking survivor who spoke for about an hour about her trials and her survival of human trafficking. And there wasn't a dry eye in the room. It was incredibly moving. I know people went away from there understanding what a problem it was. And I was also privileged enough to be able to speak at the American Bar Association conference this last spring on the issue of human trafficking. So we have done a number of things to try and really raise the community's awareness about a problem that is really a serious issue for our community. It's one that already is bad enough, and we certainly can't let it to become any worse. With respect to human trafficking, I think it's the individual stories. I think it's learning about how people's lives can be destroyed or altered forever by going through such an experience and wanting to help in some way. On a more broad level, I live in Houston. And one of the great things about living in Houston is that we are a community that, for I'm sure a host of reasons, cares deeply about each other and about the community. And so from the time that I can remember, I've seen example after example of men and women who have devoted large chunks of their time and effort to giving back. And you can't really live and work very long in this area without feeling compelled to become involved in you can't live and work very long in this area for very long without feeling compelled to become involved in the community. And so I think that in part inspires me. But there's also personal inspiration that you can get. I mentioned earlier that I'm on the board of visitors of the MD Anderson Cancer Center. A few years ago, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and she was treated at MD Anderson and is a survivor and doing well. A few years later, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she too was treated by the hospital and is a survivor and is doing well. When you have personal things like that that happen in your life, you can't help but feel the need to give back, and especially to an institution that, in my mind, has saved the lives of two of the people that are the dearest to me. And so it is the amazing work that we do in the community, not only the community service that happens, but also just the amazing treasures that we have, be it the medical center and other things that we have here in our community, that really, I think, inspires individuals to want to make them better and to preserve them. I know individuals that are involved in community service, that is their primary motivating desire, is to do good. But sometimes wanting to do good is kind of part of it. It's important to know what to do, what will be the most relevant, what will be the most helpful. And the thing that was the most beneficial to me about going through the Leadership Forum was becoming educated on really serious issues and challenges that this community faces, that we can help on, and that we can be a part of the solution or a part of addressing. And to me, that's the real benefit of the forum, is educating yourself about what is happening in our community, what are some of the challenges, and being able to interact with really talented and smart and motivated individuals who are all there for a common goal, and that is to really try and address those issues. And so it was an invaluable experience to me. Obviously, it impacted me directly. Within a week of going through the forum, I'm giving a speech to all the lawyers of Houston, telling them that we're going to focus on human trafficking as one of our major focuses. And so it certainly had an impact on me, and I would recommend it to anybody who was involved in community leadership. It, to me, is almost something that you can't live without. It's something that is very, very important. And will allow you to most efficiently and in a more impactful way direct what you do in the community. I think I've become more sensitized to challenges that my clients face. I'm a lawyer by trade and represent a lot of business, not only businesses, but business leaders. And knowing what the future challenges are for Houston is very helpful and relevant to what I do for my clients, because I can understand challenges or appreciate challenges that they are facing and that they are concerned about in a more educated and in a more personal way, because I've been through the Leadership Forum. And so I think it does help, and it makes me a better lawyer by knowing what is happening around me and what are the challenges facing this community. And so, yes, absolutely. I think it helps not only your community service, but also it can help you become a better business person here in the community. You always hope that you're making a difference when you're working in the community. There are, if you'll afford me this, two things, I guess, that come to mind. One is, I mentioned earlier that in the Houston Bar Association, we have a fabulous organization called the Houston Volunteer Lawyers. And that is the main pro bono arm of the Houston Bar Association. And what that organization does is match eligible clients who cannot afford an attorney with an attorney who is willing to represent them for free to defend some important legal right. And we do that, or we begin that process in our Saturday legal clinics, where we have individuals who will come in with legal problems and sit down with an attorney and explain what is happening in their lives. And you know, I've sat across the table from individuals who have health problems, who can't afford groceries the next week, who have some family problem that they need assistance with, and they're sitting across the table from you, and you can see the stress. Sometimes they're crying when they're telling you these stories. And when you're able to offer some help, some hope, some prospect of somebody who's going to defend them and be on their side, and you see the relief and you see the thanks, that's one way that you know that you're making an impact in the community. The other thing that I would mention is, as president of the Bar Association, we had a focus on human trafficking, and that stemmed, as I mentioned earlier, from my time at the Leadership Forum. And one of the seminars that we put together, it was a seminar where we had not only our former U.S. Attorney Tim Johnson and others on the panel, but we had a human trafficking survivor. And as I mentioned earlier, this lady told her story in amazing detail and talked about how she became a victim of human trafficking and what that did to her physically, what it did to her emotionally, what it did to her family relationships. And then she told the story about surviving it and how she overcame it and how she was living a more productive life. And she had a family. And you see individuals who rise above extraordinary circumstances, and you're able to tell their story and communicate that story to others and to educate people about it. And when I looked around that room, and I had 150 or 200 lawyers, all with tears in their eyes or openly crying, you know that you've made a difference. And so it's those little things where you always hope, but you see something. And those are two ways that I think we have. If there was one thing that I would say, my community involvement has been usually as part of a team. And I think that's really the best kind of community involvement, because we're a lot better when we team up with other individuals. And whatever I've accomplished in community service, and I hope it's something, but whatever I've accomplished in community service has been way less about me and way more about the team that I've been involved with. Getting to lead our legal community is not only a great responsibility, but a tremendous privilege, because we are really blessed in Houston to not only have really talented lawyers, but lawyers who really care. And they demonstrate that by giving of their time and of their money again and again. We call on them, and they do a fabulous job. And so whatever you see us accomplish as a bar, it's a team effort. And that really kind of pervades all the aspects of the community service that I do. It's really been as working with the team, and it's one of the great things about living in Houston is you always have team members who you can rely on.